Poor girl asks a young millionaire to be her dad at the science fair. He does something unbelievable. The school bell rang loudly, echoing across the playground as it always did at 3 in the afternoon. Lila adjusted the pink backpack on her small shoulders and joined the crowd of children running towards the gate. "My dad is going to teach me how to make glow-in-the-dark slime," shouted Emma, running beside her. "Mine said we're going to build a bottle rocket," replied Marcus, making excited gestures with his hands. Lila slowed her pace. Whenever her classmates talked about their fathers, she felt a tightness in her chest. It was as if everyone had something magical that she could never have. "What about you, Lila? What are you going to do for the science fair?" asked Tommy, stopping next to her. Lila turned red. I don't know yet." "Didn't your dad give you any ideas?" The question echoed in her head like a broken bell. Lila stopped walking completely. "I don't have a dad," she said softly. Tommy's mouth opened, clearly unsure of what to say. "Oh, sorry." He ran off to find his mother, leaving Lila alone in the middle of the rapidly emptying playground. She stood there, watching the other children jump into their father's arms, telling them about their day at school, laughing, being lifted into the air. Everyone had someone, except her. Lila left the school slowly, knowing her grandmother Ruth wouldn't arrive for another 20 minutes. It was always like this. Ruth worked at the grocery store until 3:30. So Lila waited at the small park across from the school. But today she didn't want to sit on the swings as she always did. Today she wanted to walk. The streets around the school were busy at this time. Cars pulled over to pick up children. Mothers chatted on the sidewalk. Fathers carried backpacks and lunch boxes. Lila walked without direction, just wanting to get away from the activity that made her feel even more alone. That's when she saw the man. He was sitting at a table in the corner cafe, alone, sketching in a large notebook. He had dark, slightly messy hair and wore a simple blue shirt. He seemed focused, moving his pencil with precision across the paper. Lila stopped on the sidewalk, watching through the glass window. The drawing appeared to be a building, but unlike any she had ever seen. It had curved shapes and large windows that seemed to smile. The man looked up from the paper and saw her standing outside. He gave a gentle wave and returned to his drawing. Lila stood there for a few minutes, just watching. There was something about him that made her feel too curious. Maybe it was the calm way he drew, or maybe it was because he seemed lonely too. Without much thought, she pushed the cafe door open and went inside. The place smelled of coffee and sweet bread. There were only a few people, an elderly woman reading a newspaper, a young man on a computer, and the man drawing. Lila walked to his table, her heart beating fast. "That's pretty," she said. The man looked up, surprised. He had brown eyes and a kind face, despite his serious expression. "Thank you," he replied, slightly closing the notebook. "Shouldn't you be in school?" "It just ended. I'm waiting for my grandma." "Oh, and does she know you're here?" Lila blushed a little. "She hasn't arrived yet. She's always late because she works." The man seemed concerned. "You shouldn't go into places with strangers." "You seem nice," Lila said, shrugging. "And I saw you drawing. Do you draw houses?" "Sort of. I'm an architect. I design buildings and houses." "That's so cool," her eyes lit up. "I've never met an architect." The man smiled for the first time. "And I've never met someone so young who knew what an architect is." "What's your name?" "Lila. What's yours?" "Nathan?" Lila pulled up a chair and sat down without asking permission. Nathan looked surprised but said nothing. "Nathan, can I ask you a question?" "You can. Do you have any kids?" The question caught him off guard. He stopped drawing. "No, why?" Lila was quiet for a moment, as if deciding if she was brave enough to continue. She looked at her own hands, then at Nathan, then at the window where she could see other children passing by with their fathers. "At my school, everyone has a dad," she finally said. "Everyone. Everyone but me." Nathan felt something tighten in his chest. The way she said it, so simple and direct, hit him like a punch. "And your mother?" "She died when I was a baby. Now I just have Grandma Ruth. She's very good to me, but what?" Lila took a deep breath. Her heart was beating so hard it felt like it would jump out of her chest, but she had to say it. She had to try. She looked directly at Nathan with an intensity he had never seen in a child and said it all at once. "Everyone has a dad, except me. Can you be my dad at the fair? You would have to do the project with me and present it on the day of the science fair." The other people in the cafe looked in their direction. Nathan was completely speechless, his pencil frozen in mid-air. The words hung in the air between them. Nathan felt as if someone had knocked all the air out of his lungs. He looked at the little girl, curly brown hair escaping from the braids her grandmother had probably made that morning, dark eyes shining with both hope and fear, cheeks red with a mix of shame and courage. You want me to do the project with you and present it at the fair?" he asked, trying to process what he had just heard. "Yes," Lila said quickly. "All the other dads will be there with their kids. They do the project together at home and then present it at school. And I don't have anyone." "Just for one day," Lila said quickly, "just so I won't be alone. You seem smart, and you're an architect, so you must know about science. And you have a kind face." Nathan didn't know what to say. It was the most unusual thing that had ever happened to him. A 5-year-old child, a complete stranger, had just asked him to pretend to be her father. "Lila, I know it's weird," she interrupted. "I know you don't know me, but I don't have anyone else to ask. And you seem nice." Nathan looked around the cafe, as if hoping someone would tell him what to do. But there was something in the way Lila looked at him, something in the courage she had to ask that impossible question, that touched him deeply. "What kind of project do you want to do?" Lila's eyes lit up, as if he had just given the right answer. Anything at all. I just want to have someone there with me. Someone who cares." Nathan felt something stir in his chest. It was strange. He had always been reserved, careful with people. But there was something about this girl, about the desperate and brave way she had made that request, that made him want to help. "When is this fair?" "Next Friday, from 2 to 5 in the afternoon." Nathan was silent for a long moment. He knew it was crazy. He didn't know this child or her family. But when he looked at Lila again, he saw something he recognized. Loneliness. "Where do you live?" "On Maple Street, number 247, with Grandma Ruth." "And would she be okay with this, with a stranger helping you?" "She wants me to be happy," Lila said simply. "And this would make me very happy." Nathan looked out the window and saw an older woman walking hastily toward the cafe, clearly looking for someone. "I think your grandmother is here." Lila turned and waved. "Grandma, I'm here." Ruth entered the cafe, her face etched with worry. "Lila, you scared me. Why weren't you at the playground?" "Sorry, Grandma. I was talking to Nathan. He's an architect." Ruth looked at Nathan with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "Thank you for looking after her, sir." "Nathan Morse." He stood up, extending his hand, and she took very good care of herself. "She's a very brave girl." "Grandma," Lila said, pulling on Ruth's sleeve, "Nathan can help us with the science fair." Ruth's mouth fell open, clearly surprised. "Lila, you can't—" "I offered," Nathan interrupted gently. "If you don't mind, of course." Ruth looked between Nathan and Lila, seeing the hope on her granddaughter's face. "That's very kind of you, but—" "Please, Grandma," Lila pleaded, just this once." Nathan saw the moment Ruth gave in. He saw the way she looked at her granddaughter and made a decision based purely on love. "If Mr. Nathan is sure—" "I'm sure," Nathan said, and realized it was true. "When can I visit you both to start planning?" The smile that spread across Lila's face was like the sun breaking through the clouds, and Nathan knew, in that moment, that his life had just changed forever. Nathan climbed the steps of the apartment building at 247 Maple Street, carrying a brown leather portfolio, and a strange feeling in his chest. It had been 3 days since the meeting at the cafe, and he couldn't stop thinking about Lila's request. He had built skyscrapers, designed million-dollar homes, but he had never felt so nervous for a job in his life. The apartment was on the 2nd floor. Nathan took a deep breath and knocked on the door. "He's here!" shouted an excited voice from the other side. The door swung open, and Lila appeared with a smile that took up her entire face. She was wearing a yellow t-shirt with a cat drawn on it and had lost one of her front teeth since the last time they'd seen each other. "Nathan, you really came." "Of course I came. We had a deal, didn't we?" "Lila, let the man in," said an older voice. Ruth appeared behind her granddaughter, drying her hands on a dish towel. She was a woman in her 60s, with grey hair tied in a simple bun, her eyes kind but tired. She wore a floral dress and an apron that smelled of cinnamon cake. "Mr. Nathan, welcome. Please, come in." The apartment was small but cozy. The living room combined with the kitchen, separated only by a low counter. The walls had photos of Lila at every age, school drawings taped up, and a wooden crucifix near the window. "Can I offer you some coffee? I made cinnamon cake earlier today." "That would be wonderful, thank you." Lila pulled Nathan by the hand to the sofa. "Sit here. I need to tell you about my idea for the project." Nathan sat down and opened his portfolio, taking out a drawing pad and some pencils. "I'm all ears." "I want to make a volcano," Lila said, her eyes shining. "But not just any volcano, a real volcano with clay that has a real eruption." "A volcano? I saw it on the internet at my friend Emma's house. There are some volcanoes that people make that look like real mountains, and when you put some chemical stuff inside, lava comes out that looks like fire." Nathan smiled. It was a classic project, but Lila spoke about it as if it were the most incredible thing in the world. "That's a great idea. Have you thought about what size you want to make it?" "Big." Lila opened her arms wide. "Really big, so everyone can see it from far away." Ruth brought a tray with coffee and slices of cinnamon cake. "Lila has been talking about this volcano ever since you left the cafe. She barely slept from all the excitement." "It's an interesting project," Nathan said, accepting the cup of coffee. "May I ask what you do for a living, Ruth?" "I work at the local grocery store in the deli and dairy section. Nothing too fancy, but it pays the bills." "And it's honest work," Nathan said. "That's what matters." Ruth smiled, seeming to relax a little. "You're very kind. I still can't believe you're willing to help Lila like this without even knowing us." "Sometimes life puts people in our path for a reason," Nathan replied, surprising himself with his own words. Lila moved closer to him on the sofa. "Nathan, have you ever made a volcano before?" "Never." "I've made huge buildings, Ada, but never a volcano." "Then this one will be your best," Lila said with absolute conviction. Nathan laughed, a genuine laugh that made Ruth raise her eyebrows in surprise. "You know what? I think you're right." They spent the next hour planning. Nathan made sketches on the drawing pad, while Lila dictated her ideas. The volcano needed to be at least 16 inches tall, it had to be dark brown like the mountains she saw on TV, and the lava had to be red just like fire. "We're going to need clay," Nathan said, making a list. "Paint, vinegar, baking soda, food coloring." "And where are we going to make it?" Lila asked. Ruth approached. "There's a small backyard behind the building. The residents can use it. It's just grass and some plants, but it's spacious." "Perfect," Nathan said. "Can you show us?" The backyard was indeed small, but it had a white plastic table and a few chairs. It was enclosed by a low wooden fence and overlooked other similar yards. It was simple, but had a welcoming feel. "This is where Lila plays when she's not at school," Ruth explained. "This is where I build sandcastles in the summer," Lila said, "but now we're going to build a volcano." Nathan looked around, already visualizing where they could work. "It's perfect. We can start tomorrow if you'd like." "Tomorrow?" Lila jumped up. "Really? Really? I'll bring all the materials." Ruth touched Nathan's arm. "Mr. Nathan, how much will all this cost? I can—" "Don't worry about that," Nathan said gently. "It's my pleasure to help. But I can't accept you spending your money." "Ruth," Nathan interrupted her, looking at Lila, who was watching them attentively. "Let me do this." "Please." Ruth nodded, her eyes welling up. "You're an angel." The next day, Nathan appeared at the door with huge bags. He brought clay, paints, brushes, a water spray bottle, baking soda, vinegar, red food coloring, and even small aprons to protect their clothes. "I brought everything," he announced. Lila ran to help him carry the bags. "Wow, that's a lot of stuff. We're going to make the most amazing volcano in the world." They set up at the table in the backyard. Nathan spread newspaper over the surface and placed the clay in the center. "First, we'll model the basic structure," he explained, taking a handful of clay. "A volcano has a specific shape. Want to try?" Lila plunged her hands into the clay with enthusiasm. The cold, damp material stuck to her fingers, and she laughed. "It's squishy." "It is. Now, let's make a mountain. Start from the center and work your way out." They worked side by side, Nathan guiding Lila's small hands as they molded the base of the volcano. Ruth came out several times to watch their progress, always with a smile on her face. "It needs to be taller here," Lila said, piling on more clay. "Be careful not to make it unstable," Nathan advised. "A good foundation is everything, Lila, just like in life." "What do you mean?" Nathan paused for a moment, thinking about how to explain. "Well, if you don't have a strong foundation, everything can collapse. So we always build slowly, carefully to make sure it will last. Like Grandma Ruth does with me?" The question took Nathan by surprise. "What do you mean?" "She always teaches me things slowly, like how to brush my teeth right, how to tie my shoes, how to be polite. She says it's important for me to grow up well." Nathan felt something stir in his chest. "Your grandmother is very wise. She's the best grandma in the world, but sometimes I feel sad because she gets tired, and because I don't have a mom and dad like the others." "But you have someone who loves you very much. That's the most important thing." Lila looked at him seriously. "Do you have someone who loves you?" Nathan stopped molding the clay. It was a simple question, but it hit him like a fist. Not really." "Why not?" "It's complicated. Adults sometimes have a hard time finding special people. But you're nice and kind, and you know how to make volcanoes." Nathan laughed. "Thank you, Lila. You're nice too. Can we be friends then?" "Of course we can." They continued to shape the volcano, their hands working together in the clay. Nathan taught Lila how to smooth the surfaces, how to make the perfect conical shape, how to create the crater at the top. "Now comes the fun part," Nathan said when they finished modeling. "Let's paint." Lila dipped the brush in the brown paint with so much enthusiasm that it splattered on her apron. "Can I paint it however I want?" "Of course. It's your volcano." She painted with wide, cheerful strokes, covering the clay with shades of brown, grays and black. Nathan helped her with the details, showing her how to create textures that looked like real rock. "And now the lava," Lila said, grabbing the red paint. "Let's paint it as if the lava is flowing down the sides," Nathan suggested. Lila painted red and orange lines that trickled from the top of the volcano to the base. Her hands were completely colored, but she didn't care. "It's looking amazing," she said, taking a step back to admire their work. "It really is," Nathan agreed. "Now we need to let it dry before we test the eruption." "How long?" "A few hours. How about we have lunch and come back later?" Ruth had prepared ham and cheese sandwiches, and they ate in the backyard, watching the volcano dry in the sun. Lila told him about school, about her friends, about the books she liked to read. "Grandma Ruth reads me a story every night before bed," she said. "What kind of stories?" "About princesses, animals, and kids who have adventures." "What's your favorite story, Nathan?" Nathan thought for a moment. "I think I like stories about people who find new families, about people who help each other." "Like us," Lila said, smiling. "Like us," Nathan agreed. After lunch, they tested the volcano. Nathan mixed vinegar with red food coloring in a cup, while Lila held a spoonful of baking soda. "When I count to 3, you pour the baking soda into the crater," Nathan instructed. "I'm ready." 1, 2, 3. Lila poured in the baking soda. For a second, nothing happened. Then, a red foam started to bubble and overflow from the crater, running down the painted sides of the volcano. "It looks like real fire!" Lila shouted, jumping with joy. The foam continued to pour out for a few seconds, creating an impressive effect. Nathan smiled, seeing the pure happiness on Lila's face. "It worked," she said, hugging Nathan impulsively. It was the first hug Nathan had received in months, and he felt a strange emotion rise in his throat. "It sure did," he said, hugging her back. Ruth appeared at the back door, drawn by the shouts of joy. "My goodness, it's beautiful. Grandma, look." Lila pointed to the still foaming volcano. "The lava comes out for real." "It's impressive," Ruth said, coming closer. "I've never seen anything like it. Nathan taught me everything," Lila said proudly. "He's very smart." Ruth looked at Nathan with gratitude in her eyes. "It's good to see my granddaughter so excited. I'm very grateful. I don't understand these things." "No need to thank me," Nathan said. "I'm having fun too." "Can I ask questions?" Lila said suddenly. "Of course. Do you have a family, Nathan?" Nathan was quiet for a moment. "My parents passed away a few years ago. I don't have any siblings, so... No, I don't have a family." "That's sad," Lila said, taking his hand. "But now you can be part of our family. Grandma Ruth and I, we like you." Ruth blushed but nodded in agreement. "Lila's right. You've brought a joy to this house that I haven't seen in a long time." Nathan looked at the two females before him, a 5-year-old girl with paint-stained hands and a huge smile, and a grandmother who worked hard every day to give her granddaughter the best. He felt something he hadn't felt in years: belonging. "You've both brought something special to me too," he said. As the sun began to set, Nathan packed up the materials. "I can come back tomorrow to put on the finishing touches," he said. "You'll come back?" Lila asked. "If you want me to." "We do," Lila said immediately. "Of course we do," Ruth agreed. The next day, Nathan showed up with a basket of groceries, fresh fruit, bread, milk, and some sweets for Lila. "Mr. Nathan, what is this?" Ruth asked when she saw the basket. "Just a few things I thought you might like." Ruth was moved, her eyes filling with tears. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Nathan said simply. They spent the afternoon putting the final touches on the volcano. They adjusted some painting details, tested the eruption a few more times to make sure it would work perfectly at the fair, and Nathan taught Lila how to explain the scientific process behind the reaction. When the acid from the vinegar meets the baking soda, which is a base, they react and produce carbon dioxide gas, Nathan explained. "And the gas makes the foam rise," Lila completed. "Exactly. Are you going to explain that at the fair?" "I will, and I'll say that you taught me." Nathan realized she had almost said, "my dad," and felt a strange pang in his heart. When it was time to leave, Lila held his hand. "Nathan, can I give you a goodnight hug?" "Of course." She hugged him tightly, and Nathan felt that something inside him was changing. This small, loving family was awakening feelings he thought no longer existed. As he walked to his car, he heard Ruth call his name. "Mr. Nathan!" He turned around. "Thank you so much. For everything. For the first time in a long time, I feel like we're not alone." Nathan waved and got into his car, but he sat for a few minutes before starting the engine. He looked at the simple building, at the second-floor window, where he could see Lila waving at him. For the first time in years, Nathan was looking forward to the next day. The following days established a rhythm Nathan had never experienced before. Every afternoon after work, he found himself automatically driving to Maple Street. It wasn't an obligation. It had become something he eagerly anticipated. On Monday, he arrived with more paint to touch up some parts of the volcano that Lila wanted more perfect. On Tuesday, he brought materials to make explanatory posters. On Wednesday, he showed up just because Lila had asked him to see a drawing she had made at school. "It's you," she said, holding out a piece of paper with a stick figure wearing a tie. "The teacher said we could draw our family, so I drew Grandma Ruth, me, and you." Nathan stared at the drawing for a long time. On the paper, the 3 stick figures were holding hands, all smiling. Underneath, in shaky letters, was written, "My family." "It's very beautiful," he said, his voice a bit hoarse. "Can I put it on the fridge?" asked Ruth, who had been watching the scene from the kitchen. "Of course," Lila said proudly. When Ruth stuck the drawing on the refrigerator with a heart-shaped magnet, Nathan felt something stir in his chest. It was strange to see his representation there, among the utility bills and medical appointment reminders of a family that wasn't technically his, but maybe In a way, it was. "Nathan," Lila said, pulling him back to reality. "Want to see how my presentation is coming along?" She had memorized everything he had taught her about volcanoes and chemical reactions. She would stand in front of the sofa, gesturing with her small hands as she explained acids and bases with a seriousness that made Nathan smile. "When the vinegar, which is an acid, meets the baking soda, which is a base, they make a reaction and produce carbon dioxide gas," Lila recited. "And the gas makes the foam rise, just like real lava." "Perfect," Nathan said, clapping. "You're going to impress everyone." "Really? I won't forget anything." "Even if you do, it's no problem. The important thing is that you understand how it works." Lila smiled and threw herself onto the sofa next to him. "Nathan, can I ask you a question? Always. Why don't you have any kids?" The question caught him off guard, as it always did with Lila. She had a way of getting straight to the point that was both refreshing and frightening. I never found the right person to have kids with." "But you like kids. You like me. I like you very much. So why don't you get a wife and have kids?" Nathan laughed. "It's not that simple, Lila. Sometimes things don't happen the way we plan. Grandma Ruth says God has different plans for everyone. Your grandmother is wise. She said maybe God's plan was for you to meet us." Nathan looked at Ruth, who was in the kitchen preparing tea, pretending not to listen to the conversation. "What do you think about that?" "I think Grandma Ruth is right," Lila said, leaning her head on his arm. "You showed up right when I needed a dad for the fair." The weight of her head on his arm was both light and immense. Nathan sat very still, trying to process the emotions this child stirred in him. "Nathan." "Yes." "After the fair, are you still going to come visit us?" The question was simple, but it carried a world of hope and fear. Nathan could hear between the lines what she was really asking. "Are you going to abandon us when you don't need to help with the volcano anymore?" "If you want me to come, I'll keep coming." "I want you to," Lila said immediately. "And Grandma Ruth wants you to too. She's happier when you're here." Nathan looked at Ruth again. It was true. There was something different about her posture when he was around. She seemed lighter, less tired. "Then I'll keep coming." Lila smiled and closed her eyes, clearly sleepy. Ruth approached with a small blanket. "She always takes a little nap after school," she explained, covering her granddaughter. "It's very tiring being a child. Can I stay here until she wakes up?" "Of course. More tea." They sat in the kitchen while Lila slept on the sofa. Ruth told him about her job at the grocery store, about the regular customers she had known for years, about how difficult it sometimes was to raise a child alone. "Some days I feel lost," she admitted. "Lila asks questions I don't know how to answer. About science, is about the world, about why some children have parents and she doesn't." "You're doing an incredible job with her." "Thank you, but it's nice to have help. It's nice to have a man around, someone she can look up to." Nathan sat quietly, stirring his tea. "Ruth, may I ask about her parents?" Ruth sighed. "Her mother, my daughter Abby, died in a car accident when Lila was 6 months old. Her father," she paused. "Her father disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy. We never heard from him again." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a long time ago, but sometimes I look at Lila and see that she's missing something I can't give her." "What?" "The feeling of having a father. Someone strong she can lean on. Someone who can teach her things I don't know." Nathan understood the weight of the responsibility he had accepted, without even realizing it. "I don't know if I'm the right person for that." "You are," Ruth said firmly. "I've seen how she looks at you. I've seen how you look at her. You two have a connection." When Lila woke up, they went back to the backyard to put the final touches on the volcano. It was Thursday, and the fair was on Friday. "I think it's perfect," Nathan said, observing their work. The volcano had turned out truly impressive. It stood almost 2 feet tall, painted in realistic shades of brown and gray, with details that looked like real rock. The crater at the top was smooth and ready to receive the mixture that would cause the eruption. "It's the most beautiful volcano in the world," Lila said, admiring her creation. "It certainly is," Nathan agreed. They tested the eruption one more time, just to be sure. The red foam bubbled and flowed down the sides of the volcano perfectly. "It will work perfectly tomorrow," Nathan said. "Are you sure everything will go well?" Lila asked, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "I'm sure, and you know why?" "Why?" "Because we worked together. Because you understood everything I taught you, and because you are a very smart and brave girl." Lila smiled, but still looked worried. "What if I forget something when I'm talking? Then I'll be right there by your side to remind you." "Promise." "I promise." That night, Nathan stayed for dinner. Ruth had made spaghetti with tomato sauce and meatballs, and they ate in the backyard, watching the volcano that would soon be presented to the whole school. "Nathan," Lila said in the middle of dinner, "can I tell you a secret?" "You can." "I was pretending you were my real dad." Nathan choked a little on his food. "Pretending?" "Yeah. When we were making the volcano, I kept imagining that you lived here with us, and that every day you came home from work and we did projects together." Nathan looked at Ruth, who was clearly moved. "And what was that imagination like?" "It was nice. We had dinner together every day. You helped me with my homework, and on weekends we went to the park. And I could call you Dad in front of my friends." The simplicity with which she described this alternate life made Nathan's heart ache. "That would be a good life," he said. "It would be the best life in the world." After dinner, they sat in the living room to watch TV. Lila settled between Nathan and Ruth on the sofa, her head resting on his shoulder. "Nathan?" "Yes?" "When I grow up, can I be an architect like you?" "Of course you can. You've already shown you have a talent for building things." "And can we work together?" "It would be an honor to work with you." Lila smiled and closed her eyes. In a few minutes, she was fast asleep. "She's exhausted," whispered Ruth. "All this excitement for the fair. It's normal to be nervous." "She's not just nervous, she's happy. For the first time since she came to live with me, she has something to look forward to." Nathan looked at the child sleeping in his arms. Her brown hair was messy, and she had an expression of complete peace on her face. "Ruth, can I say something?" "Of course. When Lila asked me to be her dad for the fair, I thought it would just be a simple favor, helping a child with a school project. And now," Nathan was quiet for a moment, "now I think this is the most important project I've ever done." Ruth smiled, her eyes shining. "She changed something in you too, didn't she?" "She changed everything," Nathan admitted. "My whole life was work, projects, meetings, deadlines. But here, with you two, I find a simplicity I never had. And we found someone who cares about us." Nathan carried Lila to her room, where Ruth put her to bed without waking her. She murmured something about volcanoes in her sleep, making both adults smile. "Good night, my flower," Ruth whispered, kissing her granddaughter's forehead. Nathan stood at the door for a moment, watching Lila sleep. It was strange how this child had become so important to him in such a short time. "Nathan," Ruth said when they returned to the living room, "can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "Do you regret agreeing to help Lila?" "Never." "Why?" "Because I know this has changed your routine. I know you have your own life, your own problems." Nathan sat on the sofa. "Ruth, do you want me to be honest?" "Always. I didn't have a life before I met you two. I just had work. I'd come home to an empty apartment, eat a frozen dinner, watch TV alone and then go to sleep. On weekends, I'd work more. And now? Now I have something to look forward to every day. I have people who care if I show up or not. I have a child who draws me as part of her family." Ruth smiled. "Then we are the ones who should be thanking you. I think we help each other." On Friday morning, Nathan arrived early with a new red t-shirt. "He's here!" shouted Lila, running to the door. She was also wearing a red t-shirt, and her hair was tied in 2 pigtails with red bands. "We're matching," said Nathan, opening his arms. "Identical," said Lila, jumping up to hug him. Ruth appeared from the kitchen, smoothing her own blue dress. "You two look beautiful. I'm going to get the camera." She took several pictures of Nathan and Lila next to the volcano, then insisted that Nathan hold Lila in his arms for a few more photos. "To keep as a memory," Ruth explained. When it was time to leave for school, Lila got nervous. "What if it goes wrong? What if the volcano doesn't work?" "It will work," said Nathan, kneeling in front of her. "And even if it doesn't, it's okay. The important thing is that you did your best. Will you stay by my side the whole time? The whole time. Even when the other dads are there. Especially when the other dads are there." Ruth came over and affectionately straightened her granddaughter's hair, running her fingers through the pigtails to make sure they were perfectly aligned. "Ready, my princess. Grandma, are you going to the fair too?" "Of course I am. I wouldn't miss it for the world." As they were about to leave, Ruth pulled Nathan aside. "She's never had someone like this by her side," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Someone who is so dedicated, who cares so much. She deserves to have someone like that. Thank you. For everything. For showing up in her life at the right moment." Nathan looked at Lila, who was checking to make sure the volcano was securely packed in its box. "I think she's the one who showed up in my life at the right moment." Ruth smiled and touched his arm. "Then you were made for each other. Let's go," Lila shouted from the door. "The fair is tomorrow." "Today, Lila," Ruth corrected, laughing. "The fair is today." "The fair is today," Lila corrected, even more excited. "You're coming with me, right, Nathan?" "Of course," Nathan replied, picking up the box with the volcano. "And we'll wear red shirts to match the lava." Lila jumped for joy and held his hand. "This is going to be the best day of my life." As they walked to the car, Nathan realized it might be the best day of his life too. In just a few days, this brave child and her loving grandmother had completely changed his perspective on what really mattered in life. And it had all started with an unusual request from a 5-year-old girl who just wanted to have a dad at the science fair. The school gymnasium was transformed. Tables scattered everywhere displayed projects of all colors and sizes. There were robots made of cardboard, miniature gardens, experiments with crystals, and even a model of the solar system that spun when you pressed a button. Lila held Nathan's hand so tightly that he could feel her nervousness through her small fingers. She looked around with wide eyes, watching all the other children with their parents, setting up their projects on the assigned tables. "There are so many people," she murmured. "There are," Nathan agreed, carrying the box with the volcano. "But look at all the cool projects here. Yours is going to stand out." "You think so?" "I'm sure of it." Ruth walked behind them, carrying a bag with the extra materials for the demonstration. She also seemed nervous, constantly checking if she had everything they needed. "Table number 15, Nathan read from a piece of paper. "It should be over there." Their table was near the entrance, a prime location. Nathan placed the box on the table and carefully began to take out the volcano. "Wow!" exclaimed a girl from Lila's class. "What a big volcano!" "It's my project," Lila said, her chest puffing out with pride. "Did you make it by yourself?" "I made it with my—" Lila looked at Nathan, hesitating. "I made it with Nathan." The girl watched Nathan with curiosity. "Is he your dad?" Lila turned red. He helped me with the project." Nathan felt a pang in his chest. He could see that Lila wanted to say yes, that he was her dad, but she didn't know if she could. "Lila did most of the work," Nathan said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I just helped with a few tips." The girl nodded and ran off to show her own project to her parents. "Nathan," Lila whispered, "can I call you Dad today?" The question caught him completely off guard. He looked at Ruth, who had overheard and was watching him with expectation. "If that's what you want," he said finally. The smile that spread across Lila's face was worth any embarrassment Nathan might feel. "It's what I want most in the world." They spent the next few minutes arranging the display. Nathan had made posters explaining the scientific process behind the eruption, and Lila arranged them carefully around the volcano. "It's perfect," said Ruth, taking pictures with the old camera she had brought. The fair officially started at 2 in the afternoon. The first visitors were family members, parents, grandparents, younger siblings. Lila stood beside the volcano, her hands trembling slightly. "I'm nervous," she admitted. Nathan knelt beside her. "It's normal to be nervous, but do you remember what I told you?" "What?" "Let's have fun. It was really great doing this project with you. I'm sure they'll love it." Lila took a deep breath and nodded. "Can I hold your hand when I present?" "Of course." The first visitors approached. It was a family with a small child in their arms. "Hi," said the mother, smiling. Is this volcano yours? It is, said Lila, her voice still a little shaky. I want to see how it works. We'd love to. Lila began her presentation, explaining how she had molded the volcano with clay, how she had chosen the colors to make it look like a real mountain, and how the chemical reaction worked. When the vinegar, which is an acid, meets the baking soda, which is a base, they cause a reaction and produce carbon dioxide gas, she said, gaining confidence with every word. Very smart, said the father. And who taught you that? My dad, Lila said without hesitation, looking at Nathan. Nathan felt his heart skip a beat. Can I see the eruption? Asked the small child. Of course. Lila grabbed the vinegar and baking soda. Dad, can you help me? Nathan came closer, mixing the red food coloring with the vinegar while Lila explained each step. Now I'm going to add the baking soda, Lila said, pouring the powder into the crater. The reaction was immediate. The red foam bubbled and began to flow down the sides of the volcano, creating an impressive visual effect. Wow, shouted the small child, clapping. Incredible, said the mother. Congratulations, dear. It turned out beautiful. When the family moved away, more people approached. Word was spreading, and Lila's table was attracting a small crowd. How did you make it look so realistic? Asked an older boy. I used real clay and painted it with mountain colors, Lila explained, and my dad taught me about texture and shading. Every time she said, my dad, Nathan felt a strange emotion. It was both comforting and frightening. Lila, whispered Ruth during a break, you are doing wonderfully. I'm enjoying it, said Lila, her eyes shining. It's fun explaining it to people. The next family that approached included 2 other children from Lila's class. Hi, Lila, said Emma. Your volcano is amazing. Thanks. Want to see the eruption? We do, Lila repeated her presentation, now with even more confidence. She gestured as she spoke, explained technical details Nathan had taught her, and answered questions with assurance. Is your dad an architect? Asked Emma's mother. He is, Lila said proudly. He knows how to build huge buildings, but this is his first volcano. And how was it working with your daughter? The woman asked Nathan. Nathan looked at Lila, who was watching him expectantly. It was the most rewarding experience of my life, he said honestly. Lila smiled so widely Nathan thought her face would split in 2. Dad taught me that a good foundation is important for everything, she said. In construction and in life. The woman seemed touched by the response. How lovely. You 2 make quite a team. As the afternoon went on, more and more people stopped at their table. The volcano was clearly one of the most impressive projects at the fair, and Lila was blooming with all the positive attention. This is my grandma Ruth, she introduced when a teacher approached. And this is my dad, Nathan. They helped me make the best volcano in the world. It really is very impressive, said the teacher. Lila, can you explain the scientific process again? Lila gave her presentation for the 10th time that afternoon, each time more fluent and confident. Nathan felt incredibly proud. She's a very special child, the teacher commented to Nathan. You must be very proud. We are, Nathan said, realizing he wasn't lying. At 4 o'clock, the fair's judges began to circulate, observing all the projects and taking notes. There were 3 adults with clipboards, including the school principal. When they arrived at Lila's table, she was ready. Good afternoon, said the principal. Is this your project? It is. I made a volcano that really erupts. Want to see? We would love to. Lila gave her best presentation yet. She explained the entire process, from molding the clay to the chemical reaction that caused the eruption. She demonstrated the experiment flawlessly and answered all the judges' questions with intelligence and enthusiasm. Very impressive, said one of the judges. How old are you? 5. 5? And you understand all this chemistry? My dad taught me, Lila said, looking at Nathan with adoration. He's very smart. The judges made a few more notes and moved on to the next table. How do you think it went? Lila asked, nervous again. I think you were perfect, Nathan said. Really? Really, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of me too, Lila said, smiling. At 5 o'clock, It was time to announce the winners. All the families gathered in the center of the gym as the principal stood on a small platform. "Good afternoon, families," he began. "We were impressed by the quality of the projects presented today. All the children showed incredible dedication and creativity." Lila squeezed Nathan's hand tightly. "We'll start with some honorable mentions," the principal continued. He announced several projects, and Lila clapped politely for each one, though she was clearly nervous. "Now for the main prizes. The award for Best Scientific Project goes to—" Nathan felt Lila hold her breath. "Marcus Thompson, for his peat bottle rocket." Marcus ran forward with his father, and everyone applauded. "The award for Best Presentation goes to Emma Rodriguez for her crystal garden." Emma went up to the platform with her mother, beaming. Lila started to look disappointed. "And finally," said the principal, "the Creativity Award for the project that most impressed the judges with its originality and execution." The gymnasium fell completely silent. Lila Santos for her scientific volcano. For a second, Lila was frozen. Then she shouted with joy and jumped on the spot. "I won! I won!" Nathan scooped her up, and she hugged him tightly. "We won!" she yelled in his ear. "Dad, we won!" They walked to the platform together. The principal handed Lila a beautiful certificate and a small bronze plaque. "Congratulations, Lila," he said. "Your project was exceptional, and congratulations to you as well," he said to Nathan. "It's good to see a father so involved in his daughter's education." Nathan nodded, not correcting him. In that moment, he felt like her father. Lila held the prize above her head, smiling for all the clicking cameras. Ruth was crying with joy in the audience. "Thank you, Dad," Lila whispered in Nathan's ear, "for doing this project with me." "Thank you for asking me," he whispered back. After the ceremony, many people came to congratulate Lila. She introduced Nathan as her father to everyone, and he didn't correct her. "Are you going to celebrate?" her teacher asked. "We are," said Lila. "We're going to the park for popcorn and ice cream." "What a perfect plan," the teacher smiled. As they were leaving the school, Lila was still carrying her prize as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. "Can I keep this in my room?" she asked. "Of course," said Ruth. "We'll put it on a special shelf." The park was 2 blocks from the school. It was a simple place, with a few pieces of playground equipment, benches scattered on the grass, and a popcorn and ice cream vendor with a colorful cart. "I want sweet popcorn," said Lila, running ahead. Nathan bought sweet popcorn for her and chocolate ice cream for everyone. They sat on a bench under a large tree, watching other children play on the equipment. "Tell me again how it was when they said my name," Lila requested. "Well, the principal said, 'The Creativity Award goes to Lila Santos.'" Nathan imitated the principal's voice. "And I screamed," said Lila, laughing. "You screamed very loudly. I think the whole school heard." "And you picked me up." "I did. You were so happy I couldn't resist." Ruth watched them talk, a gentle smile on her face. She ate her ice cream slowly, clearly savoring the moment. "Grandma Ruth, did you see when I explained about acids and bases?" Lila asked. "I did. My flower. You were brilliant." "Nathan taught me everything. He's the best teacher in the world." Nathan felt his chest warm. "You're the best student in the world." They stayed at the park for over an hour. Lila played on the slide, swung on the monkey bars, and insisted that Nathan push her on the swing. "Higher!" she shouted, laughing. "Not too high," Ruth warned. "Be careful not to fall." "Nathan won't let me fall, right, Dad?" "Never," Nathan promised. As the sun began to set, they decided to head home. Lila was tired but still euphoric, talking non-stop about the fair. "Tomorrow I'm going to take the prize to show at school," she said. "And I'm going to tell everyone that my dad helped me make the best volcano." Nathan and Ruth exchanged a look. They both knew this situation couldn't last forever, but neither of them wanted to be the first to bring it up. "Nathan," Lila said suddenly, "can I ask you something?" "Always. Did you like being my dad today?" The question was simple, but heavy with meaning. Nathan stopped walking. "I liked it very much. Really. It wasn't just pretend. It wasn't pretend. It was real." Lila stopped and held his hand with both of her small ones. "This was the best day in the world," she said, looking directly into his eyes. Nathan knelt on the sidewalk, getting down to her level. "For me too." "Really? The best day of your life?" Nathan looked at this extraordinary child who had changed his life in just a few days. He looked at Ruth, who was watching the scene with tears in her eyes. He thought about how he felt when Lila called him Dad, when she introduced him to other people, when they won the prize together. "Really?" he said. "The best day of my life." Lila hugged him tightly, and Nathan felt that something inside him had changed forever. It was no longer just a favor for a lonely child. It was something much bigger than that. It was love. Ruth approached and touched his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving her this day." Nathan stood up, still holding Lila's hand. "Thank you for letting me be a part of it." As they walked home, Lila swung the prize in her free hand and hummed softly. Ruth walked slowly, watching the two of them ahead of her. "Nathan," Lila said. "Yes? Can I keep calling you Dad?" Nathan felt his heart tighten. It was a question he didn't know how to answer. "Let's talk about that at home, okay?" "Okay," Lila said, confident. "But I hope the answer is yes." Nathan smiled silently, his heart full of an emotion he didn't know he was capable of feeling. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be truly needed by someone, and it was the most incredible feeling in the world. It was a warm Saturday night. Lila had fallen asleep on the sofa after a full day of playing in the yard. The prize from the fair still clutched to her chest. Nathan carried her to her room, where Ruth put her to bed with her usual care. "She won't let go of that prize," Ruth whispered, smiling as she adjusted the blanket. "She's slept with it every night since the fair. It's an important moment for her," Nathan said, watching Lila sleep. "The first prize of her life? The first of many, I'm sure." They returned to the living room, where Ruth prepared tea. The house was quiet, just the distant sound of traffic outside and the ticking of the kitchen clock. It was in these quiet moments that Nathan felt most comfortable, asking the questions that had been circling his mind. "Ruth," he began, stirring his tea, "can I ask about Lila's parents?" Ruth was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. She's an incredible child, and I feel like part of her life now. I'd like to understand her story better." Ruth sighed and settled more comfortably in her armchair. "It's a sad story, Nathan. Are you sure you want to hear it?" "I'm sure. Lila is my daughter Abby's child, Abigail. She was my only child." Nathan noticed she spoke in the past tense and felt a tightness in his chest. "Was. Abby died when Lila was 6 months old. A car accident on a rainy night. She was coming home from work." "I'm sorry." "Thank you. It was the worst moment of my life. Losing a child is something no mother should ever go through." Nathan remained quiet, giving Ruth space to continue. "Abby was so young. She was only 20 when she got pregnant. Still a girl full of dreams and plans? And Lila's father?" Ruth's face hardened slightly. "Her father vanished when he found out about the pregnancy. Just disappeared. We never heard from him again." "What do you mean?" "Vanished. Abby was in her 3rd year of college. She met this guy, fell head over heels. When she found out she was pregnant, she told him all happy, thinking they would build a family together." Ruth paused to take a sip of tea, clearly emotional. "And what happened?" "He said he was too young to be a father, that he had other plans. The next day, he had changed his major and never showed up again. Abby was devastated." Nathan felt anger rise in his chest. How could someone abandon a pregnant person like that? What a coward. "Abby thought about dropping out of college, but I convinced her to continue. I told her we would raise the baby together, that everything would be okay. And you did. We did. Abby was a wonderful mother, even being so young. She worked part-time, studied at night, and took care of Lila during the day. I helped when I could." Nathan tried to imagine how difficult it must have been for a 20-year-old girl to raise a daughter alone. "What was his name?" Ruth hesitated. "Marcus Wheeler. But please, Nathan, never go looking for him." I don't want him showing up in Lila's life after all this time. Nathan nodded, but stored the name in his memory. Do you have pictures of Abby? Lila has so few of your features. She must take after her father more. I have some pictures. Yes. Do you want to see? If you don't mind. Ruth stood up and went to an old piece of furniture in the living room. She opened a drawer and took out a worn photo album. I don't look at these photos much. It's too painful. She sat next to Nathan on the sofa and opened the album. The first pages showed a little girl playing in the yard. This is Abby at 5 years old, the same age as Lila now. Nathan looked at the photo and his heart stopped. The girl in the photo had the exact same smile as Lila, the same bright eyes. She was beautiful. She was just like Lila, full of energy, curious about everything, always asking questions. Ruth turned a few pages, showing photos of Abby growing up. Birthdays, graduations, family moments. This is from her high school graduation, Ruth said, pointing to a photo of a beautiful young woman in a blue dress. Nathan looked at the photo and felt a strange sensation. There was something familiar about that face, those eyes. She was very pretty, he commented. She was, and smart, and always the top student in her class. Ruth continued turning pages until she reached the college photos. This is from her freshman year of college. Nathan looked at the photo and the world stopped around him. It was a picture of Abby with a group of friends, all wearing university t-shirts. She was laughing, her brown hair shining in the sun, her eyes full of life. It was Abby Richards, his Abby Richards from freshman year of college, his girlfriend from years ago before he went to study abroad. Nathan, Ruth said, noticing he had gone very quiet. Are you okay? Nathan couldn't speak. His hands trembled as he held the album. He began, but his voice failed him. What is it? Ruth. What was Abby's maiden name? Richards. Why? Nathan closed his eyes, feeling the world spin around him. Abby Richards. His Abby from his freshman year of business administration, the girl he had dated years ago, before leaving to study abroad. Nathan, you're pale. What happened? He opened his eyes and looked at Ruth. I knew Abby. What do you mean you knew her? In college, many years ago. We dated. Ruth was surprised but not alarmed. Really? When was this? In her freshman year of college. I was a junior. We dated for a few months. And what happened? I won a scholarship to study abroad. I would be away for 2 years. We were very young, so we decided to break up. She went on with her life. I went on with mine. Ruth nodded, seeming to understand. What an incredible coincidence. It is. I never saw her again after I came back. I heard she had graduated, but we lost touch completely. Nathan looked at the photos in the album again. Now it all made sense. Why Lila seemed familiar. Why he felt so connected to her. That's why Lila reminds me of someone. She has Abby's eyes, the same smile. She really does. People always commented on how much they looked alike. Nathan felt strange. It was as if fate had conspired to place him in Lila's life. Ruth, this doesn't change anything, you know, right? What do you mean, about Lila? About us? The fact that I dated her mother years ago doesn't change how I feel about her now. And how do you feel? Nathan thought for a moment. I love that girl, as if she were my own daughter. It doesn't matter who her biological father is. It doesn't matter the connection I had with her mother. Lila won my heart all on her own. Ruth smiled, her eyes welling up. She really did win you over. She did. And you too, Ruth. You both have become my family. Ruth took his hand. It's strange how life works, isn't it? You and Abby met years ago. You each went your separate ways, and now fate has brought you to take care of her daughter. Maybe it really is fate. They sat in silence for a few minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. Nathan, Ruth said finally, can I tell you something that worries me? Of course. Ruth took a deep breath. I'm getting older, Nathan. I'm 62. My biggest fear is Lila's future. Why do you worry about that? What if something happens to me? What if I get sick? What if I die? What will happen to her? Nathan understood the weight of the responsibility Ruth carried. She was an elderly woman raising a child alone, with no support system, no backup plan. Does she have any other relatives? None. My husband was an only child, and so am I. Abby was my only daughter. If something happens to me, Lila goes into the system. The thought of Lila in an orphanage made Nathan's stomach turn. That's not going to happen. How can you be so sure? Nathan looked into Ruth's eyes with all the sincerity he could muster. Because I already care so much for you both, you can rest easy. I'll take care of you from now on. Nathan, I'm serious, Ruth. No matter what happens, Lila will always have a home with me. Ruth began to cry. You don't know what that means to me. Yes, I do. It means you're not alone anymore. Ruth stood up from the sofa and hugged Nathan tightly. It was the first time she had hugged him, and Nathan felt all her relief and gratitude in that gesture. Thank you, she whispered. For the first time since Abby died, I feel like I'm not alone anymore. Nathan returned the hug, feeling an immense responsibility but also a deep peace. You will never be alone again. When they separated, Ruth wiped her eyes. What are we going to tell Lila? About what? About you having known her mother? Nathan thought for a moment. Nothing. For now. She's too young to understand. When she's older, if she asks, we'll tell her I met her mother in college long before she was born, and about you taking care of us. She can know that, but let's take it slow. I don't want to scare her with too many sudden changes. Ruth nodded. You're a good man, Nathan. You're an incredible woman, Ruth. You raised a wonderful granddaughter on your own. Now I'm not alone anymore, she said, smiling through her tears. Never again, Nathan agreed. They talked late into the night, planning the future, sharing memories of Abby, building the foundations of a family that fate had brought together in an unexpected way. Nathan told her about his days with Abby in college, how smart and determined she was, how she talked about her dreams of having a family one day. Ruth told him about how Abby had matured after her pregnancy, how she had become a dedicated mother in the few months she had with Lila. She would be happy knowing you're taking care of her daughter, Ruth said. I hope so. I'm sure of it. Abby was always a good judge of character. If she liked you back then, it's because you were already special. Nathan smiled, feeling a strange but comforting connection to the past. It's strange to think that maybe I was destined to be here all along. Maybe you were. When Nathan finally went home that night, he knew he would never be the same lonely man again. Now he had a family to care for, a purpose that went beyond work, a love that had arrived in the most unexpected way possible. The discovery about Abby didn't change his feelings for Lila. In fact, it strengthened them. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring him back into that family's life when they needed him most. And he was ready to honor that responsibility for the rest of his life. Nathan spent 2 weeks researching. He talked to lawyers, read documents, understood processes. With every consultation, every form he filled out, his determination only grew. It wasn't just an emotional impulse. It was a decision that had matured in his heart since the first day he met Lila. On Thursday afternoon, he was sitting in the office of his lawyer, Mr. Martinez, signing the last papers. Mr. Morse, the lawyer said, organizing the documents. The adoption process can take a few months. We need the formal consent of the legal guardian, which in this case is Mrs. Ruth Santos, and since there is no dispute from the biological father, the process should be relatively simple. How long exactly? Between 4 to 6 months, if all goes well. A social worker will make a few visits, evaluate the living conditions, the financial situation, the relationship with the child. Nathan nodded. He had researched all of this. He was prepared. And after it's approved, Lila will legally be your daughter. You will have all the rights and responsibilities of a father. She can use your last name. You can make medical and educational decisions for her. Nathan felt a shiver of emotion. Lila Morse, his daughter, Lila. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Congratulations on your decision. It's rare to see someone so determined to do the right thing. Nathan put the papers in his briefcase and drove home. He needed to talk to Ruth first, before telling Lila. It was important for Ruth to understand that this didn't mean he wanted to push her away from her granddaughter. On the contrary, He wanted them both to be a permanent part of his life. He arrived at their apartment at 5 in the afternoon, as he always did. Lila was doing homework at the kitchen table, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "Nathan," she shouted, running to hug him. "Hi, Princess. How was school?" "Good. The teacher said our volcano is still in the teacher's lounge because she wants to show it to other classes." "That's great. You must be proud." "I am." She went back to the table. "Fine, now I'm drawing a picture of our family." Nathan looked over her shoulder. On the paper were 3 figures, a shorter one with grey hair, Ruth, a small one with pigtails, Lila, and a tall one in a tie, him. They were all holding hands in front of a house. "It's beautiful," he said, his heart tightening. "Do you like it?" "I'm going to give it to my teacher tomorrow." "I like it very much." Ruth appeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on her apron. "You're just in time. Dinner is almost ready." "Ruth, can I talk to you? Alone?" Ruth noticed the seriousness in his tone. "Of course." "Lila, finish your homework while Nathan and I talk in the backyard." They went out to the small backyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and pink. "What is it, Nathan? You seem nervous." "I am nervous. I have something important to tell you." Ruth sat in one of the plastic chairs, giving him her full attention. "I've made a decision about Lila." "About us?" "What kind of decision?" Nathan took a deep breath. "I want to adopt Lila. I want her to be my daughter, legally." Ruth's eyes widened. "Nathan, I know it's a big decision. I know it changes everything. But I love that girl, as if she were my biological daughter. And I want her to have the security of knowing she will always have a family, always have someone looking after her." Ruth was quiet for a long moment, processing the information. "And me? What happens to me?" "You come with us. Forever. You are her grandmother, the person who raised her until now. I would never try to separate you, but she would be your daughter. And your granddaughter. Nothing changes that. In fact, I was thinking, what if the 3 of us became a real family? What if I bought a house where we could all live together?" Ruth started to cry. "You would do that. I've already started the adoption process, and I'm already looking for houses. With a yard for Lila to play in, a garden for you to tend, with space for all of us." "Nathan, that's more than I ever dreamed of." "So you agree with the adoption?" "Of course, I agree. You are the best thing that has ever happened to Lila, and to me too." Nathan felt immense relief. "Now we need to tell her. How will you explain it?" "With the truth, that I want to be her real dad, not just for pretend." They went back inside, where Lila had finished her homework and was coloring her family picture. "Lila," Nathan called, "can you come here? I need to talk to you about something important." Lila left her colored pencils and came to sit between Nathan and Ruth on the sofa. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, Princess. You didn't do anything wrong. Actually, I want to ask you a question." "What question?" Nathan knelt in front of her, getting to her eye level. "Lila, do you remember when you asked me to be your dad at the science fair?" "I remember. And how did you feel when I said yes?" "Happy, very happy." "And what if I said I want to be your dad forever, not just at the fair, but every day?" Lila's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I want to adopt you. I want you to be my real daughter. With papers. With everything official." Lila was very quiet, processing the information. "But I already have Grandma Ruth." "And you'll continue to have her. Grandma Ruth will always be your grandma. But now you would also have a dad. A real dad." "A real dad." Lila looked at Ruth, who nodded encouragingly. "And I could call you Dad in front of everyone, whenever you wanted, and you would live with us. The 3 of us would live together, in a new house, with a yard." Lila thought for a few seconds, which felt like an eternity to Nathan. "I always wanted a dad," she said finally, her voice small but full of emotion. "Can I really call you Dad?" Nathan felt his eyes fill with tears. "It's all I want most," he said, his voice choked with emotion. Lila threw herself into his arms, hugging him with all the strength her small arms could manage. "Daddy," she whispered in his ear. "My real daddy." Nathan hugged her tightly, feeling his heart was about to burst with happiness. "My daughter," he whispered back, "my precious girl." They held each other for a long time, crying with joy. Ruth watched in silence, with tears in her eyes, touched by the beauty of that moment. "Grandma Ruth," Lila said, extending an arm to include her grandmother in the hug, "we're going to be a real family." "Yes, we are, my flower," Ruth said, joining the hug. "And we're going to have a house with a yard." "We are," Nathan promised. "I'm already looking." "With a garden for Grandma Ruth to plant flowers?" "With a garden for Grandma Ruth to plant all the flowers she wants. And with a room just for me. With a room just for you, with a big desk for you to draw and do homework." Lila jumped with joy. "It's going to be perfect. Can I tell my friends at school?" "You can tell anyone you want." "And can I draw our new family?" "Of course, you can." Lila ran to get her colored pencils and started a new drawing. This time, she wrote underneath in neat letters, "Daddy Nathan, Grandma Ruth and me, our family forever." In the following weeks, Nathan sped up his search for a house. He wanted something perfect for his new family. He visited dozens of properties until he found the ideal house: 3 bedrooms, a large living room, a spacious kitchen, and a big backyard with enough space for Lila to play and for Ruth to have her garden. "This is it," he told the realtor. "I'll buy this one." The house was in a quiet neighborhood, near a good school and a park. It had large windows that let in lots of light, and a yard with several fruit trees. Nathan spent the next few days arranging the purchase and planning the move. He bought new furniture, hired a moving company, and took care of all the details. "When are we going to see the house?" Lila asked every day. "Soon, princess. I want it to be a surprise." On Saturday morning, 2 weeks after the conversation about the adoption, Nathan arrived at the apartment with the keys in his hand. "It's time," he announced. "Time for what?" Lila asked. "To see our new house," Lila shouted with joy, and Ruth laughed, drying her hands on her apron. "Really? Today? Today? Shall we go?" They drove to the new house, Lila chattering excitedly in the back seat about how she was going to organize her new room. "There," Nathan said, stopping in front of a yellow house with a garden out front. "This is our house." Lila jumped out of the car. "It's beautiful, it's huge." Nathan opened the front door and they went inside. The house smelled of new paint and had an immediately welcoming feel. "This is the living room," Nathan said. "Look at this space," Ruth exclaimed. On the new bookshelf in the living room, Nathan had placed the volcano they had made together in a prominent position. "Our volcano," Lila shouted. "You brought our volcano?" "Of course. It's our first achievement together. It has to have a place of honor." They explored the whole house. Ruth was enchanted with the spacious kitchen and her room, which had a view of the garden. Lila was ecstatic with her new room. It had a large window overlooking the backyard, a new bed with a pink bedspread, and a large desk perfect for drawing and doing homework. "It's the most beautiful room in the world," she said, jumping on the bed. "And look," said Nathan, opening the closet. "There's room for all your clothes and toys, and this desk is all mine. All yours, for you to draw, paint, do homework, create whatever you want." Lila ran to the window. "I can see the whole backyard from here." "And now let's see Grandma Ruth's favorite part," Nathan said. They went out to the backyard, where Nathan had had wooden benches installed under the trees and had prepared flower beds. "Nathan," Ruth exclaimed, her hands to her mouth, "you made a garden." "I did. Here you can plant all the flowers you want. Roses, daisies, sunflowers. And there are benches for me to rest while I take care of the plants. For you to rest, and for us to sit together on Sunday afternoons." Ruth walked through the garden, touching the empty beds, already imagining what it would be like when they were full of flowers. "It will be my special corner." "It will be our special corner," Nathan corrected, "for the whole family." Lila ran through the yard, exploring every corner. "Can I plant a tree, a very small one that will grow with me?" "Of course you can. We'll choose a special tree for you." "And can I play here every day?" "Every day. It's your yard now." They spent the rest of the morning exploring the house and the yard, planning where everything would go. imagining what life would be like there. "When are we moving?" Lila asked. "Next week. I've already hired the moving company." "Next week for real?" Ruth seemed unable to believe it. "Next week. It's time to start our new life together." Lila sat on one of the garden benches, swinging her legs. "Nathan, Daddy." "Yes, Princess?" "Thank you for choosing to be my dad." Nathan sat next to her on the bench. "Thank you for choosing me to be your dad. But I chose you first. At the cafe, remember? When I asked you to go to the fair with me. That's true. You chose me first. And now we're family forever." Forever. Ruth joined them on the bench, looking at the garden that would soon be in bloom. "Do you know what this means?" she said. "What?" asked Nathan and Lila together. "It means that each of us has our own space in this house. Lila has her special room, I have my garden, Nathan has his office. But the most important thing," Nathan interrupted, "is that we all have a sense of belonging. We have a family. We have a home," Ruth completed. "We have a home," Lila agreed, snuggling between the two adults. They sat on the bench for a long time, looking at the yard, planning the future, feeling the peace of finally being where they belonged. The volcano on the living room shelf was just the beginning. Now they were going to build a whole life together, brick by brick, moment by moment, with the same care and love they had used to build that first project. Nathan looked at Lila and Ruth, his chosen family, his family of the heart, and knew he had made the best decision of his life. "Welcome home," he said. "Welcome to the family," they replied, almost at the same time, and for the first time in a long time, all three of them felt exactly where they were supposed to be, home, with family, at peace. The Sunday sun streamed through the large window of Lila's room, creating golden squares on the wooden floor. 3 months had passed since they moved into the new house, and every corner already bore the mark of the family that lived there. Ruth's garden was blooming with daisies and roses, and Lila's room was filled with drawings taped to the walls. Nathan was in the living room organizing some work papers when he heard small footsteps coming down the stairs. Lila appeared carrying a sheet of paper, colored pencils, and a determined expression on her face. "Daddy," she said, approaching the table where he was working. "Hi, Princess, what do you want to do?" Lila placed the paper on the table and held her pencil firmly. "Daddy, now I want to make houses, like you do." Nathan's heart warmed. For all these months, Lila had shown a growing interest in his work. She always asked about his projects, wanted to see the drawings, and understand how houses came off the paper. "Really? You want to learn how to draw houses?" "I do." "Can you teach me?" Nathan looked at this 5-year-old girl, now legally his daughter, with her eyes shining with curiosity. "Then let's start right now." He stood up and went to his office for materials. He returned with drawing paper, small rulers, special pencils, and some small pieces of wood and glue he used for making models. "First, let's start with the basics," Nathan said, sitting beside her. "Every house needs a solid foundation. Like the volcano." "Exactly like the volcano. Remember what I told you. A good foundation is everything." Lila nodded seriously and picked up her pencil. "Where do I start?" "Let's draw the floor plan first. It's like a map of the house seen from above." Nathan guided her small hand, helping her draw rectangles that represented the rooms. "This square can be the living room," he explained. "And this one here, the kitchen. And where is Grandma Ruth's garden?" "Behind the house. We'll draw it here." They spent half an hour drawing, with Lila asking questions about every detail. Why were the windows in certain places? How did water get to the kitchen? "You ask a lot of good questions," Nathan said. "A good architect always asks questions." "So I can be a good architect." "You can be anything you want to be, Princess." Ruth appeared from the kitchen, where she was preparing an afternoon snack. "What are you two up to over there?" "I'm learning how to make houses, Grandma," Lila said, showing her drawing. "Look, this is the living room, this is the kitchen, and here is your garden. How clever. It looks very nice." "Now we're going to make a real model," Nathan said, picking up the pieces of wood. "We're going to build a little house with these materials." Lila's eyes lit up. For real? With glue and everything. With glue and everything. They moved to the backyard, spreading the materials on a garden table. Nathan taught Lila how to measure the pieces of wood, how to cut paper for the windows, how to glue the pieces together carefully. Slowly, he would say when she got anxious. In architecture, patience is very important. Daddy, when I grow up, can I work with you? It would be an honor to work with you. And can we make houses for people who don't have a place to live? The question took Nathan by surprise. Why did you think of that? Because at school the teacher told us about people who don't have homes, and I thought that if I knew how to make houses, I could help them. Nathan stopped gluing and looked at his daughter, 5 years old, and already thinking about using her talents to help other people. You know what? That's the best reason to be an architect I've ever heard. Really, really. Building houses to help people is the most important job there is. They continued working on the model. Ruth came and went, bringing lemonade, watching the father and daughter work together with a smile on her face. Done, Lila said when they glued the last piece. Our first house together. The model was simple but beautiful. A small house with 2 windows, a red door and a pointed roof. It's perfect, Nathan said. You have a natural talent. Can I keep it in my room? Of course. It's your creation. As Lila admired the model, she ran inside the house and came back with another paper in her hand. Daddy, I have one more thing to show you. What is it? Lila unfolded the paper. It was a drawing made with colored pencils, showing 3 figures holding hands. A tall man in a tie, an older woman in a floral dress, and a small girl with pigtails. Behind them was a yellow house with a garden full of flowers. At the bottom of the drawing, written in colorful, crooked letters, was "Get our family." Nathan stared at the drawing for a long time, feeling a deep emotion rise in his chest. When did you make this? Last night, before I went to sleep. I wanted to give it to you as a present. It's the most beautiful gift I've ever received in my life. Ruth came closer to see the drawing. Nathan saw her eyes fill with tears. She squinted to hold back the emotion, but couldn't hide her moved smile. Lila, Ruth said, her voice choked, you drew our family. I did. It's the 3 of us forever. Nathan held the drawing carefully, as if it were made of the most precious material in the world. Can I frame this and put it in my office? You can. That way everyone will know you have a family. Everyone will know I have the best family in the world. The sun was setting, painting the backyard in gold. Ruth was watering her flowers. Lila was playing with the model they had made, and Nathan was watching the 2 most important women in his life. Daddy, Lila said suddenly, are you happy being my dad? Nathan knelt beside her, getting down to her eye level. Lila, being your dad is the thing that makes me happiest in the whole world. Really? Happier than making huge buildings? Much happier, because making buildings is my job, but being your dad is my life. Lila smiled and hugged Nathan tightly. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, my daughter, more than you can ever imagine. Ruth approached them, still holding the watering can. Do you 2 know what you're doing? She asked. What? They both asked together. You're making me cry with happiness, she said, laughing through her tears. Come here, Grandma Ruth, Lila said, stretching out her arms. Family hug? The 3 of them hugged there in the middle of the yard, surrounded by the flowers Ruth had planted, with the model Nathan and Lila had built. So you know, Nathan said, I used to think family was something you were born into. And now? Ruth asked. Now I know that family is something you choose to build day after day, hug after hug, project after project. Like a house, Lila said, exactly like a house, with a strong foundation, made with love and care. Ruth looked at the blooming garden, at the yellow house she now called home, at the man who had appeared in their lives like an unexpected gift, and at the granddaughter who had had the courage to ask for the impossible. And as the first stars appeared in the sky, the family that had been formed in such an unexpected way knew they had found something that many people spend their whole lives searching for, a place to belong, people to love, and the certainty that they would always have each other. Some families are born ready, others are built one word, one hug, one afternoon of clay at a time. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.